You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers, but we got Nico.
So, Ryan, I'm listening to the pod today. It's probably a couple days old. I've been behind. A little sick.
Thank you.
Still, Idaho. Talking about, it's impossible that all 133,000 reps, are in on it. And, you're right. It only takes a couple. And I'm kind of like you. I don't think there's a conspiracy. I just think the NFL wants a level of control. And, if they would chip the ball, I'm just going to use it because it was fresh. I could probably research it and find a million things. But what's his face for the Bills was clearly got a first down, the quarterback. We all saw almost the entire ball go across over the line. And as soon as the refs ran in and they were behind the line, they were on the other side of the line of scrimmage, I thought, oh, no, it was a first down marker. I thought, oh, they're doing it to him again. But then when they did the replay, just like when, Nixon fumbled the ball, when they showed the replay, he clearly got it back. Like, oh, they'll reverse it, and they did it. So, yes, I don't think it's a conspiracy, but the NFL certainly isn't making any headway to change it. That's an easy fix they could fix before the Super Bowl. Chip the dang ball. No one's going to know it. It's not going to add any weight. They make microchips the size of, a flake of skin, for crying out loud. But now you talk about maybe some of it's the refs favor the home teams. And I don't know if you're aware of this. I'm sure some of us older folks are, but there's kind of that infamous play where Pittsburgh was trying to get a first down. They threw the ball, went off a defender's foot and bounced back into Franco Harris's hands when he was running full steam, and he just went right in the end zone. Well, that was, back then, that was illegal touching. And so it should have been illegal touching, offensive foul, loss of downs, and the Pittsburgh Steelers should have lost the game. So while I don't know if you know who the away team was, while they were complaining, hey, that was a foul, that's illegal touching. Apparently the head ref said to whoever was in charge of security, do you have enough police to escort me and my crew out? Mm-hmm. And he said no, and he instantly went, touchdown! So yeah, I think there's that. Who wants 80,000 people, giving you crap? Plus I think a lot of it just boils down to incompetence. Because, back in the day, I remember they would make these calls and we'd show the replay. Wow, I can't believe the ref got it right. Now it's kind of the other way around. I just think they're all incompetent, really. But anyways, there's so much the NFL can do to fix it, and they're kind of wanting to fix it, but they should do it faster. Hey, go back, go.
Yeah, I don't know why it's happening. I don't know how much. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is they're not doing a good enough job, and they got to fix it. And I think that they can, not 100%, but you can get closer to being better at your job, and they should work as quickly as they can to moving in that direction. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't try to perfect the game. I understand you want to grow the game, and I understand you want to protect yourself from lawsuits and liabilities and angry emails, and I understand all that, but that shouldn't just be your priority. It seems like when it comes to improving the product, actually fixing what you already have, as opposed to just protecting yourself and expanding, there seems to be really no interest. Nico? Butt dial? Yep. Okay. Hey, Ron, what's up?
What's up? Ryan's Aaron from Eau Claire.
Yo.
It might sound like I'm in a boat because I'm in my car.
Okay.
And you mentioned it sounds like a boat.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Anyways, so quick question. The samples that play at the beginning of your show, they're like movie clips. I know at least two of them. I know the prank call one is from Pulp Fiction. I know that what's the other one? Fargo. Yeah.
Yep.
The nervousness on the phone there. I know that's from Fargo. And there's the one about calling on an overseas phone that I'm not familiar with. So could you maybe just tell me what that is? It
Give you a hint. Well, go ahead.
sounds almost like Kramer from Seinfeld, but
Nope.
I looked it up and I couldn't find any clips of him saying that. So yeah, let me know what it is. Yeah, that's all I got.
I'll give you a hint. Say hello to my little friend. All right.
Hey, that's not all I got. I have one more. I just wanted to say, I just wanted to describe the value that this podcast and this podcast network has brought to me, and probably a similar feeling that a lot of other people get. But the thing I love about it is hearing people call in, give their opinions, ask their questions, all that stuff, as well as listening to your other podcasts where it's just you talking about different things, and then also Clayton's podcast where it's the kind of the group of hosts there that are kind of interplaying between each other. I think what's cool about it is it's almost like you're hanging out with a bunch of people who love the same thing as you, and it's just kind of a nice, I don't know, maybe a comforting thing, something where it's just nice to come back and hear the same voices and, hear people call in, and you start to get to know some of the different callers. So, yeah, thanks for that. It's definitely something that, just kind of become a bit of a constant, bit of a constant in my life that is really cool, and it's cool to feel like you're a part of this bigger community that's kind of regionally based in Wisconsin, and feel like there's something bigger that you're connected to. So yeah. Anyways, thanks for everything.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's, to be clear, certainly not regional. We got people from all over the place, but yeah, I appreciate hearing that, and I'm glad can bring a little joy to your life.
Everything you do, it's a good time to talk about that because it's the off season. Also, Packers, please get Maxx Crosby and or what's his name from the Browns, Myles Garrett. Please get those guys. Both of them would be ideal, but either or would also suffice. Yeah, and then also go get Davante Adams, please. Yep, those are my three wishes: Myles Garrett, Maxx Crosby, and Davante Adams. If they can get those three guys, I don't know, man. I think that's pretty solid. Not going to happen in all likelihood that they get all three. If they get just one of them, I'd be excited. But I'm gonna hope that they get all three. You know what? Why not? Doesn't cost me anything. Yeah.
Do yourself a favor, set your sights a little lower, and you're likely to be pretty happy with the outcome.
Hi, Ryan. This is Ben Johnson from the Chicago Bears, head coach extraordinaire. I just wanted to call and say that I was just looking at the Packers. I was just looking at the Bears schedule. Little Freudian slip there. Can't get the Packers off my mind. Anyways, I saw the two Packers games, and I pretty much just put a W on them, and I look forward to beating these clowns twice every year for the next 10 years. And also the 10 Super Bowls we're going to win. Yeah, just looking forward to beating your team. That's all I got to say.
Well, I appreciate you calling in. It's an honor, sir.
What's going on? So my firefighter, how y'all doing? It's Super Bowl Sunday. I'm calling before the game, so I don't know what happened, who's going to win. It sucks because most of America doesn't want either team to win. But preferably, I'd rather just have the Eagles win just so it's not a three-peat for the Chiefs. I'm just being honest, I'm tired of them winning, and they shouldn't be winning. And I feel better because I think we lost to the Super Bowl champions a lot in the, playoffs. So it's like every time they beat us in the Super Bowl, I always just be like, all right, well, at least we lost to the best team. So that's one. But I was calling because I think it was Garrett called about somebody about DK Metcalf draft, and it reminded me, and I just would like to hear like people's draft crushes that we could have got. A lot of people say we should trade up and all that, but it costs a lot to trade up to get certain players. But it's three players that we could have drafted that just stuck with me, and I was screaming at the TV, I want us to get we could have got, and it sticks out. DK Metcalf is one. I was like trying to get him, hoping we get him, and we didn't get him. I was so hurt by that. I really was. The second was
I was torn on DK Metcalf. He was a big fan favorite because he checks every single possible box, right? He's massive. He is. If there's ever been like a Megatron, it was him. But he was also seen as, the reason he wasn't a lock number one overall pick is because he was, bad route runner or something to that effect. It was, there were definitely drawbacks, but, when you see the size and the physical makeup, the size speed combination and everything, it's nobody cares. And so pretty much everybody was all the way in on him. And so everybody that didn't draft him is super pissed at their team for not drafting him because every fan base was screaming, please draft DK Metcalf.
the center, because I did not like Myers. And we had the first opportunity to get the sitters, and then the Chiefs drafted him right after us. That was like crushing. Because I was like, oh, we're good. It fell out perfect. Like the number one center is available for us to draft. That hurts. And lastly, this is an old school one, was Randy Moss in 98. We picked 19th, and I think he went like 21st. And we could have got Randy Moss. So just imagine Randy Moss and Brett Favre on the same team. We probably would have won like 4 Super Bowls. It would have been ridiculous, especially with Favre being so good for so long. So anyway, those three like hurt me the most, and it's only hurts because it's realistic. Like, even the TJ Watt thing, like they traded back. So even if you didn't trade back, that's what they did. So it's kind of like, who would you pick doing the trade back? So a lot of people get mad about that, but I'm not even mad about that. But those ones hurt me the most. But lastly, a lot of people talk about what they got right. I'll talk about what we got wrong. I got wrong. It was a receiver that I liked that the Patriots drafted. He won like rookie. He won like a competition before the draft that like, I don't know, Pepsi or EA Sports had or something. He caught every single ball. And we was going in a draft, and it was going to the second round, and I wanted to draft him. We skipped him. We didn't draft him. We got Greg Jennings. And I was like, who the hell is Greg Jennings? I don't know this person. And ended up being a superstar for us. So everybody was talking about when they were right, but that's one that I was wrong. And I will admit, like, I was so pissed. I was like, this guy is not going to be better. And the guy that got drafted by the Patriots that year, I don't even think he even, in the NFL, he was trash. So it's just funny that, how it goes. But anyway, go back, go.
Yeah, I'm trying to think some of my biggest misses. I'm sure you guys would be able to remember. I'm trying to remember myself. A lot of guys that I liked. I can't even remember any that like massively hurt me. I know there were a lot of picks that hurt me because I just didn't want to draft them. Rashawn Gary and Jordan Love and Quay Walker, but it was less about who they didn't pick and more about who they did pick. I know I wanted TJ Watt, not because of the Badger thing, but that was one that I was in on, and then they didn't do it, and it did end up working out. Like I said, with DK, I was more torn. I don't think I was all the way in. I wasn't all the way out. I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, definitely be a good idea to get some call-ins on that. All right, let's take a break. We got Brian with a B after the break.
Hey, Ryan. It's Brian with a B.
What's up?
I am enjoying watching the 2010 Packers win the Super Bowl against the Steelers here on Super Bowl Sunday because I need to watch a Super Bowl that I actually care about today.
There you go.
And I'm looking at the wide receivers. I'm curious what your thoughts are on comparing the 2010 Packers receivers, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, and James Jones compared to our current set of wide receivers. Besides Donald Driver, the rest of them are all, 2 to 4 years of experience. So in 2010, Greg Jennings had 4 years of experience, and Jordy 2, and James Jones 3. So they're kind of comparable age-wise. So would you rather 2010 Packers wide receivers or 2024 Packers wide receivers? Go ahead, pause, answer that, and then I have a few thoughts.
2010, go ahead. Go ahead. 2010.
All right, I got to say, while watching them in the Super Bowl, I have whatever the opposite of recency bias is, like nostalgia bias probably, because Jordy and Jennings and Driver, they all look great. So I did a little bit of research. And I have some trivia here for you.
Okay.
Who do you think out of the 2010 group and the 2024 group had the best percentage of targets caught between the two?
I'm assuming you're going to say 2024 or whatever.
Answer, which surprised me, was Jaden Reed at 73.3% of targets caught, which is significantly better than anybody else. And then the average yards per target was Christian Watson, not surprising, but then also Jaden Reed next, both with over 11 yards per target. And it's just higher than Greg Jennings' 10, Jordy's 9. So looking at the averages, I think I'm feeling kind of good about the group. The only thing that's really different between the two groups is that the 2010 group had almost 100 targets more than our current group. So let's just throw the ball more and go Pack go. Have a good one.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to decide what metrics you'd like to use. Not dropping the ball is obviously a big one, although reception percentage is different, slightly. Depth of target, obviously Watson's going to be a big one. I'm a little surprised Jordy wasn't higher on that, but in terms of value, I think it has more to do with function than value, in my opinion. A lot of deep threats like Marquez Valdez-Scantling have like 19 yards per target or something, or per reception. I think a good one would be yards per route run, although even that one would be kind of iffy because when you look at the Green Bay Packers, there's so many mouths to feed. You can be a really good receiver and still not really be targeted all that much. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was a better unit. I don't want to say significantly, but I'm leaning towards significantly better unit in 2010. But there's definitely some promise with this young group, and I'm certainly hopeful that in addition to adding some talent, these guys can take a step.
Hey, Ryan. It's Brian with a B.
Yo.
I just finished watching that 2010 Packers team win the Super Bowl. I'm going to take back everything I said in the last message. Those receivers were so much better than our current receivers. They were amazing. So, go Pack go.
Well, it's always interesting anyways to kind of go back and look at that and kind of get some perspective. So I appreciate you doing that either way. Beer Cheese Benny, what you got going on?
Hey Ryan, Beer Cheese Benny here, and it's Monday, man. It's day after the Super Bowl, so this is officially the off season. So
yeah, dude.
Here we go, man. What an embarrassment by the Chiefs. And you know what? I'm gonna say this. It almost looked like they tried to do something in the beginning. They started with their bullcrap with that offensive pass interference on the Eagles, which, by the way, I guarantee you they don't even call that if he doesn't catch the ball, if he ends up like not being able to catch it or something like that, or like bobbles it or something, and drops it. And then they kind of cleaned it up. The refs cleaned it up a little bit, but there were still dumb penalties. But nothing that changed the outcome of the game. But
yeah,
dude, what I want.
That was the one thing too, where it's like even if you're kind of the refs weren't that bad or whatever, if you can be the biggest conspiracy theorist in the world and not really be fazed, even if there weren't that many bad calls, because the Eagles beat them so viciously. What's the point? What are you saving? You're gonna risk your entire career calling some BS call to get the Chiefs another touchdown that will not get them the win. The game's over. It's done.
To say really is that this game only further showed that Brian Gutekunst is a smart GM. And here's why. Look how badly Patrick Mahomes was sacked. And then compare that to our offensive line against the Eagles, who wasn't sacked as much. Jordan Love wasn't sacked as much. I mean, Goody has built this O-line to where we have good protection against pretty good rush defenses, I'd say, to be honest. It starts in the trenches, man, and, this is why I am hoping that in the draft we just go heavy O-line, D-line, but mostly D-line, because, man, that freaking all that pressure that the freaking Eagles were able to create against the Chiefs was amazing. And I just hate that Josh Sweat did so good, because that ruins our chances of being able to get him in free agency, because the Eagles are going to try to bring him back. So
and even if they don't, like I said, he earned himself a ton of money, so his price just went way up.
Hopefully, maybe we can have a better deal, give him more money, and have him, man. That would just be great. And then we don't have to worry about the whole Myles Garrett thing and giving up stuff, because that guy looks great. But yeah, man, it's just hilarious. It just felt perfect that they lost, man, in that way, just embarrassingly. I told my Chiefs fan coworker, I said, man, Mahomes looks like Braden Locke from Wisconsin right now in this Super Bowl. It's freaking terrible.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, look, again, we got to remember that this was a unique performance by the Eagles. So, I love to give the Packers all the credit in the world in terms of, we must have an elite offensive line, but if that's the case, literally everybody has an elite offensive line except the Chiefs. I just think the Chiefs had a uniquely bad day, and the Eagles had a uniquely great day, and those two things collided. It's not to say that we shouldn't be proud of what the Packers did in putting up a significantly better fight necessarily, but, based on that performance, if we were to use that kind of train of thought, we would have to assume that pretty much everybody is better than the Chiefs, and I'm not entirely sure that that's true. Maybe, but probably not.
Hey, Ryan. This is Aaron.
Yo.
I'm calling the morning after the Super Bowl. Hopefully not. My heat in my car is not too loud. It is cranking in there.
Can't hear you, but
anyways,
it's fine.
So I admittedly did not watch the game. I watched. Have you ever heard of the show Silo on Apple TV? It's based off a book called Wolf.
Okay.
But it's a really good show. And I recommend it if you're into kind of like sci-fi, weird, I don't want to say weird, but sci-fi kind of. It's not like entirely sci-fi. It's just like a dystopian future inside of a silo and weird. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Fair enough.
I keep saying weird. Anyways.
That's weird.
So, my thoughts on the Super Bowl. I checked social media before the Super Bowl started, right? And I'm seeing a couple clips of Taylor Swift, and I'm like, oh no, it's already begun, right? And then the game starts, and there was that A.J. Brown penalty that was the push-off, and you tweeted out, so it begins, and I was like, oh, okay, what happened now? And then turns out that it was a call. I see where they were coming from with it, but anyways, but then I go off and I keep watching Silo, and the next time I come onto social media, what do I see other than my boy Cooper DeJean fixing Patrick Mahomes? It was at that point that I'm like, do I want to turn the game on?
Right back off.
No, let's just stick with it. And admittedly, I kind of wanted the Chiefs to win because I just don't like the Eagles fans. I mean, some of the Eagles players deserve this.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I didn't want to be like, okay, let's let the Eagles win. But turns out now, I am so happy with the outcome of that game.
Yep.
Like, seeing the Chiefs just get absolutely decimated, like, I don't care who it's by, just seeing the Chiefs just get demolished to the point of, like, no return, really. But anyways, I just wanted to give my thoughts on it. Like, I didn't watch it. Kendrick, though, lay off Kendrick. Like, he's been around for quite a long time, and his new stuff, I don't like it. His new stuff is very poppy,
Okay.
generic, like, whatever. But his old stuff, man, like, that is where it's at. Like, I'm talking, like, when he's, like, at his peak of popularity, like, To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn, before that
This
stuff,
is not his peak of popularity. I guarantee it is.
I recommend checking out his older stuff.
Listen, I'm just telling you as somebody who didn't know who Kendrick Lamar was really until recently when this whole thing blew up, I think this is his peak. Which is unfortunate because of what you're saying, where musically he was significantly better in the past. This is it. The whole drama, beef thing, that stupid song he did with the dance that blew up everywhere now that everybody's doing his dance. I think this is it, dude. This is where it's at. But again, you know, if you think 30 years from now that Kendrick Lamar, people will be like, bro, they should have Kendrick Lamar do the Super Bowl, then I guess I stand corrected.
Hey, Ryan, this is Aaron again.
Yo.
Sorry if I'm shouting. I'm trying to talk over the heater in my car.
No, it's good. It helps.
But anyways, I just want to talk about kind of history for a little bit, you know?
Sure.
Because it
History's
started,
dope.
right, when all this talk was like, oh, the Chiefs could be the first team in NFL history to repeat, to three-peat, whatever. As if the people back before the Super Bowl literally weren't almost trying to kill each other and took, like, people say, oh, they were playing plumbers and electricians. Yeah, but those guys, like, the hardest hit you'll see nowadays is like an average hit that you'd see back then. Like, they were, that was tough football. I don't care what people say. Like, that three-peat matters. Like, sure, they might not have the, like, skill level and the talent to a large degree and the speed that some of the people had these days. But people need to realize, like, that was not just light football. Like, it wasn't just, like, two-hand touch. Like, I don't know. Anyways, but that was good. So I'm glad the Chiefs didn't three-peat so the media would run away with that. Anyways, Sterling Sharp, man. Like, I love, after the Hall of Fame was announced and Sterling Sharp got announced, pretty much nobody out there was like, yeah, like, this guy doesn't deserve it. This was, what a terrible signing. And the few people that were got, like, roasted and ripped apart because people just don't know how good he was. And that's the sad thing, right? Like, Sterling Sharp.
Well, you probably got some people that just looked at the raw stats or whatever, which I don't even think are bad, but still, you know, I don't know. Some people are just kind of lazy and don't really care.
I was born in 1993, and he retired in 1994, so I don't appreciate it entirely.
Sure.
But, like, watching highlights and watching what the guy can do, oh, man, there's a reason he was as good as he was. It's not just like it's not like he's getting a pity Hall of Fame induction.
Right.
Like, his career was cut short because of injury, and he still got in. Like, that should tell you how good he is, if anything. Like, it took him way too long, but the fact that he got in at all is really, really incredible. It's like, kind of. Anyways, I'm gonna head out. So, go Pack, go. Here's to the off season. I'm not the Bears, so I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, we're gonna win the off season. Woo! Because the Super Bowl was last night. So there's no wins and losses. There's no wins and loss columns in this offseason. Anyways, peace out. Have a good day. Bye.
Yep, super happy for Mr. Sterling. I know I was very young during that time, but definitely was even though my memory of it is lacking. I know I was a huge Sterling Sharp and Robert Brooks. For some reason, Robert Brooks was my dude, but Sterling was fantastic, and Brett and the whole crew or whatever. I do wish it would have gone a lot later, because the more exciting times came later, which is the most unfortunate part, because Sterling and Brett and everything made this team fantastic, but it really became a juggernaut after him, which is not an indictment of him, but you get guys like Reggie and some serious people in there to make it just the most dominant freaking team. Again, number one offense and number one defense in points and yards. You add Sterling to that, not that it's even needed, but oh my Lord. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We got Daniel from California.
I'm usually not in the all-in crowd, but after watching that Super Bowl, we're not far from that defense, really. Because I don't remember the number of what we held the Eagles to, but our defense is definitely better than the Chiefs' defense. I'll give you that. But hear me out. We already had our 3 draft classes of 12 guys, so we've already did that. We're invested for a while on our team. Some of those guys will get second contracts, so we are set for the next probably 7-8 years of just floor guys, right? Trade away a first-round pick, trade away a second-round pick or something for Myles Garrett. Just go for it, man. Just go for it. Sign Milton Williams. There's your Eagles defensive line on the Packers. Sean Gary, Myles Garrett, and then Lucas Van Ness, and I'm drawing blank on our other edge rusher, the one from Florida or Florida State, whatever. But that, and then we got Milton Williams, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks. That's not a bad combination. And then receiver, that's going to be a tough one. Either our guys step up, or we make a run for somebody like Cooper Kupp, or we make a run for somebody like Davante Adams or T. Higgins. But I'm okay with anything. We just got, we're not that far away. We're not. It's so close. Just, he's done it before. We've seen Goody go all in 2019. We are set up. All right. We don't need to take picks. We just need the few over the hump pieces. And Jordan's got the right mindset. Jordan's gonna get his feet right. Need a couple defensive linemen. We're so close. Corner, I'm okay. I'm okay with our corners if Jair's healthy. But we could draft 1 or 2. Who knows? But just do it. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think they're going to be that aggressive, or they just trade away the entire draft for, everybody. Go get Garrett and Davante and every other person that you can fathom. It's probably, again, I'm telling everybody to tamp down their expectations, because I think the Packers are going to do something. I think they're going to be aggressive. But listening to the last couple calls, it's like they're going to be aggressive and everyone's still going to be pissed. So, I don't know. I hope we're not setting our sights way too high here.
Ryan, it's A.A. Ron from Eau Claire. How's everything going?
Great.
The morning after the Super Bowl, and I got to say that that performance made the Packers' loss to the Eagles a little more forgivable, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
They played a perfect game against the Chiefs. They absolutely blew them out, dominated every possible way. The only thing that made the Chiefs look a little better was garbage time. I know that the Eagles could have probably kept them from scoring as much, but at that point, they're just trying to get to the victory. So, yeah, I thought that was a dominant performance. I thought it showed how complete of a team the Eagles were. That might have been one of the best teams I've ever seen win a Super Bowl. I don't know. I mean, the offense was clicking. I mean, Jalen Hurts looked great. Saquon Barkley. They have some good receivers, good offensive line. Defense was obviously completely stifling. Tons of pressure, good coverage. I mean, to have Patrick Mahomes throw 33 yards in the first half is just incredible. So,
yeah,
I think, given what we saw, it makes me feel a little bit more like, okay, the Packers weren't as bad of a team as they looked in the last couple of weeks, I don't think. So, anyways, but I do think it kind of gives us some ideas of how the Packers can put together their team moving forward. First of all, I think they need to keep putting free agents onto the team. That's one thing that I think really hurt Ted Thompson, is just his unwillingness to go big on free agency in certain key ways. Doesn't mean you have to, stretch or reach or anything like that, but when there's a player available who can literally change the course of your team's future, I think you should try to get him. I mean, I think Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney were those two players, and Brandon McManus, to be honest. Those three players alone altered the entire course of the Packers season from, in my opinion, probably a mediocre to losing season to being a winning season, and that is a huge deal. I'll come right back.
I agree.
All right, so yeah, just obviously the Eagles aren't necessarily your crazy free agency team, but and they drafted a lot of their own guys and all that stuff. But they did add Saquon Barkley, which was a big swing, and so I think Brian Gutekunst has been doing that. I think he's been doing a very good job of doing that. That's one thing that I think, I really appreciate about him. But I just think he needs to do that every year. Just, find a couple of key pieces that are going to be significant additions to the team in free agency.
It's a lot easier to do some years than others. I mean, his first year in, Zadarius Smith was franchise-altering. Adrian Amos was franchise-altering. After that, there weren't as many because we had no money. It's hard to say, hey, go out in free agency and find a franchise-altering player when you have no money because you're paying all these guys because we're going all in to help Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl. And you might be able to if you get lucky. And he did get very lucky with guys like Devondre Campbell, with guys like Rasul Douglas. Those were, not necessarily Reggie White franchise altering, but absolutely made a massive impact on our team for almost no cost. So and then you mentioned last year as well. I think Gutekunst, I think just about every team is always spending all of the money that they have. It's just a question of, do you have any money to spend? And if you don't, you're not. And saying that, every year you got to do it, well, I think every year that we have money to go get somebody, he's going to go get somebody. And if we have a lot of money, he's going to get a lot / some big signings. And if we have very little money, then we're not going to do very much / very little signings. Tiny, little underappreciated, hopefully, players.
Especially just based on who's available. If I'm him right now, I'm trying to get Myles Garrett as soon as possible. I'm trying to compete for that guy because that guy's a franchise-changing player if you put him on the right team. Yeah, I know. The only knock against Myles Garrett is that incident he had against the Steelers a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, I think. I was just watching the highlights.
The highlights of that play.
Where he took Mason Rudolph's helmet, swung it at his head.
Yeah.
That wasn't good. That wasn't cool. But It's been 5 years since then, and he's still on the Browns.
And I don't think there's been any other incidents.
Seemingly doing fine. So I would trade for Myles Garrett if it was the right assets. But yeah, I don't know. And then there's just something about you can't just replicate perfect teams either. You know, like it reminds me of some of the teams from the 2010s, like the 2013 Seahawks that won the Super Bowl the year before they lost to the Patriots. That was a pretty dominant team overall. Russell Wilson was fine. He was good enough, but the defense was really good. And then the Denver team that won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning was just mediocre or actually kind of bad at that point in his career just with his throwing ability. But that defense was absolutely dominant. So it kind of reminded me of those teams where it's just a defense so good that it's hard to just do anything against them. I think the Packers are trending in that direction if they can continue to get players. So anyways, go Pack, go.
Yeah, and again, as far as Myles Garrett, I have absolutely no issue with it. I mean, it is franchise-altering, and maybe it is one of those don't overthink it things, but I also think there are a lot of guys that are going to make a huge impact. I think, there's 2, 3, 4 guys that could be double-digit sack game wreckers that are going to cost a fraction of what Myles Garrett is going to cost. Still a lot, but a fraction. And give you the opportunity to go after more people. It's kind of a, rather than saying, go get Myles Garrett and, how about saying Myles Garrett or? Myles Garrett or, Khalil Mack and somebody else. But again, maybe it's a don't overthink it thing. I don't know.
Brian, just listening to your post-Super Bowl podcast, I couldn't resist but to call in and comment on the halftime show since I'm a musician, and that's my trade. I saw a lot of people who didn't like the halftime show on social media, people that I know or whatever, for a lot of the same reasons that you mentioned. And so let me just give you my 2 cents. Coming from a musician, I think Kendrick Lamar is a genius artist who won a Pulitzer Prize for music, and if you listen to his records from a kind of poetic, artistic standpoint, I think they are brilliant. But
I made this comment, I'll let you finish, but it seems to me that he is very well renowned as a lyricist, and I made the comparison, sort of more of an older rap kind of a thing. Not that I dislike his music, but I never thought he was as good musically, but was seen as a genius lyricist, is Nas, the rapper. His music is fine. I wouldn't put it top 10 as far as some other people that I'd rather listen to. But if you ask people that like to listen for the lyrics and all that stuff, he is consistently seen as one of the best, if not the best rappers. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at with Kendrick Lamar, where everybody talks about, oh man, listen to the lyrics. Like, I don't listen to the lyrics. I don't care. I'm listening to the sound of the music, and if it doesn't capture me, I'm moving on. I don't care necessarily. I mean, the words can help if I can understand it, first of all. I think Tupac is a great example of that. His words, along with the sound of it, just combined for an absolute hammer. Kendrick Lamar's music didn't really grab me in any way at all, and I have no idea what he's saying. So I'd have to pull up the lyrics and find out what he's saying, which I just, for a song that doesn't do anything for me to begin with, why would I do that?
Kendrick Lamar has never been the big catchy song guy. And that's why when I saw he was performing at the Super Bowl, I was like, oh, I really like Kendrick Lamar, but I have no idea how this is going to go, because it seems like a an odd fit. Kind of like certain TV shows or certain, let's say movies because of the movie theater. Certain movies are great movies because they have great dialogue and they have great emotional connections between the characters and they have great character development. But they don't necessarily make a great blockbuster movie. I think that's kind of what Kendrick Lamar would be in the music world. He's an amazing artist, and it just comes down to sitting down and listening to his music in more depth.
Which I have no interest in doing. I mean, I know that this is your field and you're all about that. Music isn't homework for me. I pop it on. It gives me some kind of an emotion, and it's on in the background. I'm not studying it. I'm not listening to it. I'm not understanding the concept behind it. I'm not doing any of that stuff. It's just it either makes me feel good or it doesn't, and that's about as deep as I'm willing to go with it.
But as far as like a Super Bowl halftime show, to me, should be all about the entertainment aspect, which is why someone like Prince is a really good choice.
Right.
Or when he did the show was a really good choice. So yeah, to me, I think, again, Kendrick Lamar is a highly respected artist, but I don't know that he was necessarily the best choice for a halftime show. I do think Bruno Mars was a good halftime show. I think he could be sort of seen as the modern day equivalent of like a Prince or something like that.
Sure.
But
very catchy songs. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was I don't know. One second, I'll call right back.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, I think for me, what's interesting about the halftime show is that it's always so kind of artsy. The way that the costumes are designed and like all this, it almost looks like I don't know, like it's just very like surrealist. I feel like The Weeknd's performance was like that. It's like a bunch of people in like weird costumes.
Yep.
And they're like they're forming like a big choir, and it just seems like some alien world. I don't know. So it just seems a little like surrealist, or like maybe a little too high concept for something like the Super Bowl, which is like, let's just have fun,
Well, even that, I mean, I don't mean to just outright disagree because maybe there's a thing to it, but I'm watching this. You're not going to convince me that some of this stuff, and I'm not even talking about Kendrick Lamar. I'm going back to whatever it was, I think last year, where people are crawling on the ground, where they got like the marshmallow suits. Like, that's just stupidity. You're not going to convince me that there is some deep artistic meaning behind that. The art behind that is similar to the art where somebody taped a banana to a frickin' wall. And that's what it feels like to me. Like, this is, it's artistic. It's like, no, this is just people being stupid and pretending it's art. Now, Kendrick might be different, but some of this stuff is just garbage. And it's stupid, and it's not entertaining. Like, why are you, and you can tell, like, by the movements, it's like they really, somebody that is like a choreographer put this together, and it's like, this is like some really, like, advanced art that nobody's doing. It's like, yeah, there's a reason nobody's doing it, because you look like an idiot. That's the reason. Like, this is stupid. So, I would love for anybody to try to explain some of the stuff that's going on. Again, Kendrick Lamar, maybe. There was a lot less stupidity. My wife and I had made that comment where we've seen worse, where it's just complete nonsense, and people are actually clothed, which is nice. You can actually watch it with your kids and not have to be like, all right, well, we're turning this off. But, yeah, I mean, some of this stuff is just idiotic, what I'm watching right now. So, I don't know, acting like it's too high-minded for the simple-minded people is like, come on. This is lazy garbage music with lazy garbage dancing. It's not even dancing, it's flailing. And it's pathetic. Again, not Kendrick, but some of this other stuff is just the dumbest trash ever.
So I don't know. I appreciated that that they gave him a chance to do it. As far as like me being a fan of his and everything and appreciating him as an artist. But, again, you know, I don't know that he's necessarily the popular choice that a lot of people would want to see. You know, I don't know. When was the last time they had a country artist? I mean, I'm not the biggest country fan, but you got to think a ton of NFL fans are into country music.
Yeah, and it fits the entertaining genre. You know, they have, you know, catchy songs and just, you know, playing on guitar on the stage with a guitar, and just it's a normal band, and you know what I mean? Like, that's just, we're not overthinking it here. This is real simple. I'm not big into country either, but it'll work. You know, I feel like we're trying too hard by going over the top. We're getting these massive artists that are popular on TikTok and because of their social media feuds. And, you know, it's the other problem that I think is the NFL's like, who's the biggest artist out there? And so they go get him. And it's like, well, maybe you should ask the question, who's the biggest artist among our demographic? You know what I mean? Because I feel like they're doing that wrong every year. Like, Katy Perry was not terrible. That was not a terrible halftime show. But that's a perfect example. At the time, probably the biggest artist. The biggest artist among NFL fans watching Katy Perry on a giant like tiger or something? Nope. Nope. Sorry, but no. Same with The Weeknd. The Weeknd is much more popular with young people. He was a or was it The Weeknd? I think it was The Weeknd. I didn't know who it was. And then I recognized it. I recognized a lot of the songs because I heard them on TikTok. How many 40, 50-year-olds in the audience had no freaking idea what that is because they don't even have TikTok? Kendrick Lamar, exact same thing. Yes, some people in the stands know who it is. They're younger people, whatever. But I just think there's a big difference between who's the biggest artist and who's the biggest artist for our demographic. And I think they could do a better job of finding more generic things that would kind of go across the spectrum as opposed to hyper-focusing in on what, like, 18-year-olds are listening to.
And you got to think that would be a popular choice. So, I don't know. I don't know who makes those decisions and why. Why do they choose who they choose? Be interesting to know that. So maybe I'll look into it. But anyways, so yeah, I thought it was admirable that they, you know, what they did and the work they put into it. It was a lot of kind of challenging choreography and all that stuff, which it always is. But yeah, anyways, it's a little obscure musically, except for like the couple of hits or whatever that they did.
Well, and that's the thing, like, people that are like into, and I know it's different than the where you're coming from, but I have to assume the vast majority of the people that enjoyed it are not artists like yourself. They're people who are into the whole beef thing, which is great if you're into like that whole WWE rap world where there's always some kind of rap beef going on or whatever. Most of us don't know about that, don't care about that. So it's like you're playing into like this obscure like TMZ thing that's going on that some people get it, other people are like, I don't get it. And it's like, well, if you knew the history, if you knew this, well, I don't, and I don't care. I'm not interested in looking it up. I want you to put on a good show that would be entertaining. And you know, you can't entertain everybody. That's fine, but I just question the thought process behind why you did what you did. And it really feels to me like it was genuine just laziness. I think the NFL just tries to get the biggest star that they can, which is fine. But like you said, there are people that are paid a ton of money to make this event as perfect as you can. And I would just think you would think past the surface level. I would assume that you'd have that mental capacity to think at least maybe outside the box a little bit. You know, because Prince, you could argue, like, if you were sitting down thinking about it, it doesn't really work. I mean, that's an older demographic. Young people aren't going to know who Prince is, and they're not going to care about Prince, and it's going to be too But it worked. Why? Because it was a great performance. Even if you never heard Prince, that was just a great performance. It was a great show. But again, it just feels to me like it's the biggest event. We got to get the biggest star, and that's it. It's a 30-second conversation. You go to the charts, you look at the top, you call that person. If they say no, you go to number 2, you call that person, you go down the list until somebody says yes, and that's it. That's what it feels like they do, if you were to ask me.
And a lot of it's like, if you don't know his music, it's not going to necessarily be like, the first time you listen to it, it makes perfect sense to you. You know what I mean? It's one of those things you have to listen to over.
And like you said, that's why it wasn't necessarily a great choice, but I don't think they realized that. If somebody like you was in the room, you could have said that to them, but you got a bunch of people in the room who probably understand music about as well as I do that are just like, well, what are the kids like these days? I don't know. Google it. Somebody named Kendrick Lamar. Who the heck is I don't know, but get his agent on the phone, will you, Jim?
Over until you kind of get the meaning of it. So anyways, that's my 2 cents in the Super Bowl halftime show. If they really want to be smart about picking artists, I think it's just the bigger the better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The more down the middle kind of mainstream, probably the better. So, and typically skewing artists who like are big on their like performing. So anyways, all right, that's it.
Well, that's the other thing. Can you at least like go to YouTube and find their performances? You know what I mean? Because the other issue that I have with people like Kendrick Lamar, and I think rap in general, is tough. Some people can probably do it. Most cannot. Rap is not great outside of the studio. It doesn't sound good. It's so unbelievably overproduced. When you take away all the machinery and you just put that guy in front of a microphone and have him rap into the microphone without all the techniques and everything else that you use and without all the extra sounds and all the stuff, it doesn't sound good. That's, again, going back to Prince. Why did it work? Because it's all natural. It's not saying there's nothing that gets plugged in, but these are just gifted artists. He's got a great voice that doesn't need anything else. He knows how to play a guitar. He doesn't need to post-produce anything. He puts it into the microphone good. So a lot of that stuff, it's like, it sounded good on the record, but it does not sound good live. But yeah, I mean, listen to how it sounds live. That's number one. Number two, what kind of a show do they put on? And that's the other thing. I don't think rap does a very good job, generally, from what I've seen. I've never been to a rap concert. They just kind of walk back and forth on stage, like flinging their hand around. Like there's nothing much to it. There's not a lot of like pyrotechnics and all kind of like. That's why rock makes a lot of, because they go crazy. Like I'm not saying it would be the best show in the world, but go look at what Rammstein puts out. Well, I think one of the best shows I've ever been to, and I think I like his music. It's never been my favorite, but I bought one of his albums and I like him. Alice Cooper, I saw at Summerfest. One of the best shows I've ever. That dude puts on. I mean, it is a performance. It's not just the music. It's the music plus it's a show that they put on for you. So if it's some overproduced artist that sounds good on a record but doesn't really put on a show for you, that's going to be a terrible show. If they at least sound good but they don't put on a show for you, it might be okay, but all you're going to have are, you're going to go find some choreographer to get 100 people to dance around and flail around on the stage while they do their show. And that's stupid, and we're all getting tired of that. How about we just put a stage in the middle of the field like we used to do and put on a great show? We'll get some pyrotechnics, we'll get some special guests, some good singers to come out and sing different parts. We'll cover some songs. It'll be a good old time. We'll get out of here. But instead, it's let's go get the biggest artists. Let's drag them out here. We'll have people sitting on lamp poles, and hopefully the people at home and in the stadium will be able to actually hear him. Probably not, though, because, again, the whole audio quality thing, not the best. But whatever. Again, it wasn't the worst show I've ever seen, not by a million miles. A little bit more middle of the road for me. Definitely seen worse. But I appreciate your call because, there's a lot of the Kendrick fans that are coming on like, oh, it's these stupid, whiny people that are saying they didn't like it. That was amazing. It wasn't. The point is there are things that you can see objectively. And objectively, there were a lot of problems with this performance. Just because you like Kendrick Lamar and because you want to stand up for somebody doesn't mean that you're right. You're not right. It was entertaining to you. It wasn't necessarily the best decision. It wasn't a super great performance. Objectively. People are able to objectively look at something and say, I don't know their music, but I enjoyed that. That's not a thing that happened. And there are a lot of very legitimate reasons for that. But anyways, all right, I'm out of here. You guys have a good rest of your night. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.